I will call the Monday, July 15th, regularly scheduled school board meeting to order. And I see that all board members are present. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Allegiance statement, please, Nathan.
The mission of Foley Public Schools is to bring together students, parents, staff, and community to provide a quality education with an emphasis on developing the full potential of the individual.
Thank you. And we have an open forum. Is there anyone else that wanted to address the school board? No? All right. We will need an approval of this evening's agenda. I need a motion and a second, please.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Ken, seconded by Patrick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have the approval of routine business items, which include the consent agenda, board bills, and the approval of meeting minutes. Motion by Nathan,
Second.
seconded by Wayne. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have a resolution for accepting gifts, which is on page 21 of the packet. I believe there is one item to be accepted this evening, and it is from the Gardens of Foley, and it actually is for the yard signs for seniors in the amount of $2,160. And do we know if that was for our recently graduated seniors or coming up? Recent. Okay. And I see those all over, and it's wonderful. So thank you to the Gardens of Foley. So I believe,
I'll make the motion to accept this.
Second.
motion by Wayne, seconded by Sharon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have the LTFM 10-year plan. Ms. Knoxville, are you presenting this evening?
Yes.
Thank you.
Kelly's going to share up on the screen our revenue projection, our revenue projections for the LTFM 10-year plan. This is something that it's approved by the board every single year. It's something that MDE uses to just get an idea of where every district is at and how they plan on spending their LTFM funds. And so on this spreadsheet, if you look down at line 60, Kelly, that just shows for the next 10 years our estimated revenue for LTFM. And then the next thing is the expenditures. And I was very fortunate to have Andy from Site Logic and Ellers look over all of this information to make sure it was as accurate as we could get it. This shows some of the all the expenses that we anticipate spending over the next 10 years, and working with Site Logic to go over our 10-year plan. And down in category 2 is where we put in our anticipated expenditures for our IAQ program. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, in category 5 is just our everyday issues that we have in expenditures that we plan on spending over the next 10 years. And again, this will be brought back to you next year to approve again.
On the first slide of presentation, revenue, I assume that the increase is the IAQ project stuff.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And this is the plan that we have to submit, is that correct? On an annual basis? Okay. And I would say that the majority of this has been we discussed at buildings and grounds and previous board meetings. So what you're looking for is discussion action, so you're asking for approval of this plan that we're going to be submitting. Okay. Does anybody have any further questions after looking over it over the weekend as well? Okay, hearing none then, I would take a motion and a second for the LTFM 10-year plan.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nathan, seconded by Patrick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We also have a resolution authorizing issuance for facility maintenance. This is DB 10. Okay, and I'm sorry, I was reading. Who would like to explain this to our board?
I know Shelby, you're here as well. So the resolution, this is something that we have talked about. This is in relation to our IAQ project. And this resolution then allows for us to continue the project and then also to invest in our bonds. And so this resolution has to be on file along with our LTFM project, or LTFM plan, along with some other documents.
And as the board knows, we've had several discussions, we've had several meetings regarding our indoor air quality projects that are going to be happening here after the resolution, after approval of a few things. So are there any questions of the board regarding this resolution?
And just to clarify too, Madam Chair, that this project relates to the high school.
Correct. As well as the field house.
That is correct.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion and a second regarding authorizing issuance for our facility maintenance as planned.
Motion to authorize.
I'll second.
Motion by Patrick, seconded by Nathan. We're going to go ahead with a roll call vote on this. So it's documented as such. Ken Anderson?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Wayne?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Nathan?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. We have a budget and enrollment report. I'm thinking not so much enrollment at this time.
Not going to go through and read line by line, but just to give a brief overview. Currently, our annual budget for expenditures in the general fund was set at $25.8 million. We've spent $25.4 million, roughly. Food service is still doing, they have been coming in under budget. Same with community ed services. And so at the end of the year, currently, our budget's $30,444,509. And so far, we've spent $30,013,920, leaving us with $256,676 as of June 30th. However, there's still a lot of things in the background that need to get taken care of over the summer before our audit. And then when the audit's finalized, we'll have numbers, very accurate numbers for you. Revenue, overall, we've budgeted $29,964,000 in revenue, and currently we received $25,103,966. I will say that at the time that we had to print this board report, we were not done with all of our revenues and expenditures for June. There's still revenues that haven't been recorded in our system yet. So this is not exactly where we are at right now. Until those get in there, then that would give us a better idea, but at this point, we didn't have enough time to get all of our things done before the board meeting. Last year at this time, our expenditures were $27,024,445, and we had spent $28,602,326, putting us at $1,577,881 over budget. Our revenues were $27,246,762, and And at this time last year, we had received $25,911,598. And again, this was 2023-12, meaning it was the June month, but there weren't all of the corrections and stuff that needed to be made were not included in that number either.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Aaron regarding the budget report?
Just an observation, I mean, obviously, we're in a long process on budget, but it looks like we're headed in a better direction than we were 12 months ago, so I want to say thank you for the efforts that have been made for that.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? All right, and then we will move on to policies report requiring review. And this is the third and final reading for the following two policies. Policy 532, use of peace officers and crisis teams to remove students with IEPs from school grounds. Policy 611, homeschool. And as I said, this is our third and final. So I would need a motion and a second regarding these policies.
I'll make a motion to pass the policy updates.
Second.
Motion by Wayne, seconded by Stephanie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Looking at our committee reports, reading through that schedule, we do have a policy committee meeting coming up, and that would be on the 23rd. But just reading through our list of policies with summertime on, I don't believe these groups have met. Okay. Ken has something from MSBA, but we can do that during board comment if you would. And then we have meeting, event, and notices. So we have a regularly scheduled board meeting on August the 19th. And I guess we're going to have a short meeting this evening. We have an opportunity for, well, we do have some administrators here, so let's go to the directors here. Do we have anything, Mr. English?
Other than my report, I just want to thank Kim Luderman for her many years of service and congratulate her on her retirement.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Cooper?
Not tonight, thank you.
Mr. Fox?
Well, again, I have to thank Kim Luder as well. She's been my admin secretary my whole time here. And she's 38 years in the school district, so obviously the shoes fill, so hopefully we can find a committee that can work together to replace her. So.
Very good. Thank you. Dr. Perry, do you have anything this evening?
I do just have a few things to echo Mr. Foss and Mr. Inglis to publicly thank Kim Luderman, and we had just a small celebration for her last week, and it was really fun to hear about all the changes that she's seen in 38 years of working in school, from paper pencil to technology and wishing on those days to go back to paper and pencil, especially when the technology is not working. But what a career for Kim, and we definitely wish her well in her retirement. Sounds like she has some really neat things planned, so we hope that she enjoys her time. Just a reminder of a few different things. We have completed a survey that we're going to be sending out to parents regarding the additional professional development days. We're just looking for a little bit more feedback, but we're hoping to send that out no later than Wednesday. And we'll gather that data, and then we'll share that with the community as well, and then provide some additional updates to the first update that we sent earlier this summer, so end of the school year. And then on the IEQ project with the resolution, we do have some notifications that will be in the paper. Hans isn't here tonight, but I've been in contact with him about sending an article that's a little bit easier to follow than maybe watching a board meeting that hopefully will be published. He's talking to the managing editor to make sure that we're within the guidelines. So I'm hoping that that will be published next week as well.
Thank you. And Nelson, do you have anything for the agenda? Okay, thank you. Then we'll have an opportunity for board member comments. Wayne, do you have anything you'd like to add? Patrick?
I want to congratulate Connie Dealer on his retirement from driving bus. Connie's been my neighbor my entire life, so I've known him literally my entire life. And congratulations to him on this, and I hope that he does well with his retirement.
Thank you, Nathan.
I'm looking tonight.
Ken?
Yeah, I want to again congratulate Kim and Donnie, because I remember when I hired Kim, she's been around a long time, and I could always count on her, she was a real rock. And Donnie, of course, long-time bus drivers, and has given us some good times also. I was able last Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to attend the MSC, which is the Minnesota Service Cooperative's annual conference. We held it this year at the Inn of Lake Superior in Duluth. It's a beautiful place, if you've ever been up there, by the lift bridge and so forth, and beautiful place to have a conference. In fact, I always say that this is the best place to have it, and they're going to have it again there next year, so at least they're doing that. I felt bad because we moved it to the fall for a couple of years, and so I missed 2 years of it, and I really missed it because it's a great conference to go to. It involves all the board members from all the 9 service cooperatives in the state of Minnesota, and a lot of these people have been on the board as long as I have in their respective boards. So you come back and you see old faces, and it's just really a warming thing to be able to do. So I was really glad to be able to get back. After these 2 years, we were thinking about moving it back to the fall again, but at least we're doing it for 2 years, and it works out well for me. So we had a lot of meetings. First of all, I'm on the Cooperative Purchasing Committee, so we had that meeting early on Thursday, and we're doing very well on that. We are getting vendors so we can sell to schools for a cheaper price, and you can go someplace where you know exactly what the cost is going to be, and that's going very, very well. So I was at that meeting. Then I had an incident that happened to me a few years ago. I was down on a bus tour, and I was taking some people down to Florida, and we were in Fort Myers, and I said, well, let's go over to spring training. They started a couple of days earlier, so we went down there, and I'm walking around, and it was not a part of the tour or anything, and this guy comes walking along. And I go over to him, and I said, you look familiar. He says, I'm Joe Schmidt from KSDP. You know Joe Schmidt? And he was in a hurry, so I thought, well, I just he stopped and talked to me for quite a while. And then the other passengers saw this, so they started coming over, and he started signing autographs and so forth. And I thought afterwards, you know, what a nice thing for this guy to do. So many times anybody that says it's important will just rush on by and say, I won't have time to talk. But he spent some time talking to people who had no idea who they were. Well, guess who our guest speaker was? And I saw that he was going to be our guest speaker at the conference. So I went over to him before he started talking. He says, Joe, you don't remember me, I know this. But I got to tell you this is what you did for me, and I respect you for this. I said, I actually, you're one of my, I'm a big fan of yours now. And I actually grabbed him by the shoulders and said, you've made an impact on me. And surprisingly enough, you know what this topic was about? Impact. Okay? He wrote a book called The Impact Blueprint, a step-by-step journey to a life of significance. So he was following his own rules by stopping and talking to us. And it was amazing. So I talked to him at a time. And I didn't know what kind of speaker he'd be. He's one of the best speakers I've ever heard. He's a very good friend of Joe Mauer's. He's going out to Cooperstown with Joe Mauer's, getting into the Hall of Fame. But he didn't talk about sports stuff. He talked about character and dealing with people. Joe Mauer, if you don't know the story, when he was a senior in high school, it's a hard story to tell because there was a blind kid that was sitting all alone in the lunchroom. And he invited that kid to have that table with him every day. This was a cool table. And then he walked that kid to his classroom, that first hour of class, every day for the whole year. And then the other kids saw this, and then when they saw the kid in the hall, they'd walk into a classroom. You know, so this kid, blind kid, was sitting alone in the lunchroom. You know, everybody talks about what a great guy Joe Mauer is. He really pointed that out. So it really I heard that, and it was great, and then as he was talking, he asked people if they had something to say, raise their hand, so I raised my hand. I was the second one he came through. And I told that story, he handed me the mic, and I said the story about how you impressed me because you took time to talk to somebody you didn't know, so he handed me his book. He had a book in his hand. Everybody else had to buy the book. They had the book out in the hall, and people just lined up. And so I got it autographed, and I've read about half of it already. It's a fantastic book. It's got 52 ways to impact yourself and people. That's really good. So that was a highlight. Afterwards, we had a legislative update, which is always interesting. A lot of you remember Sam Walseth from MREA. They had a 6-person panel from the League of Minnesota Cities, 2 lobbyists, Sam Walseth and Roger Moe, who was a longtime state senator, and then MSBA President Kurt Schneiderman, and President of the Superintendent's Association, Deb Hinton, and President of the MREA, Darren Strassel. So they were all there. That was a panel. That was an all-star panel. They're going to tell us about legislative update. And I was amazed that, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one there, but I knew I was on a first-name basis with 5 of the 6. I didn't know the ones in the cities. And I could actually say 2 of them were friends of mine. Darren was a friend of mine. And so I really just felt so good to have these people there. And they gave us some great information of what's going on. And some of it's good and some of it's not so good. I will say Darren, I talked to Darren afterwards. He presented himself really well for a person new coming into the MREA. He came across very well. They all did a great job, but that was interesting to hear. We also had a woman came in. I didn't like her. She wasn't very good. She gave me a book also. Well, we all got a book. Everybody got a book. It's called the Say Yes Experience. But she didn't sell me very well, so if anybody wants the book, but she asked the question, have you ever said no when you should have said yes? And then have you ever said yes when you should have said no? And she had us in the panels doing that, so that was kind of neat. Anyway, the next day we had a MSC Board of Directors meeting, and I'm on the Board of Directors, and these are the same people all the time, so that was great. And then we had a guy that talked about leading through chaos, which is what we're in all the time, especially in school. And he was a former Marine. He talked about how Marine training really changed his life because of what he had to go through, the discipline and all that. And then afterwards, he got out of the Marines. He married the love of his life. Okay? Found out right away, shortly into marriage, she had cancer, and they fought the cancer. Then they found out she had a lymphoma, and they fought that, and then she died. But they resuscitated her. Said she could never have kids. See? So they're going to live that way. He showed us a picture at the end of all this. There he was with his wife and 4 kids. Great story, great story. He was very good. But then we had the state demographer come in. And that was very interesting. And one thing I found out is that, and I didn't know this, she told us, that the state service cooperatives, including resource, were asked by the demographer to make sure we get all the correct voting in all our areas. And she said, you guys made a difference. And I didn't know what the difference was. But we made like 29 people not having to lose a representative in Congress. It was that close. It
Can
was
you
20
say Benton County did?
No, this is for the whole Minnesota. We have 8 representatives in Congress. We were going to lose 1, but by 29 votes, we didn't lose it. So we got till 2030. We'll probably lose it in 2030, but she was very interesting. Now, she showed us a lot of maps of what's going on, and it was very interesting. I kept looking at Benton County because she talked about growth areas and growth areas that weren't going to grow and areas that we're going to lose. Unfortunately, we were not in the area that we're going to lose, but we weren't in the area that was going to grow. It was going to be a fairly, she didn't say stagnant, it'll be steady, but it's not going to, we're in that place right now. And she did say, this is her prediction. I took a picture of it. This is her, Minnesota's demographic future looks like. Okay? Minnesota will grow more slowly than it has in the past. Some counties will continue to decline in size, population. Urban areas throughout the state are projected to grow the fastest. I think we all knew that, but that's statistics. Finding workers will continue to be a challenge for everyone, especially in rural Minnesota, where the population is older and the working age population makes up a smaller share of the total. The importance of international immigration is growing as our state's growth as it slows. So we actually need immigration, she said. And the state will continue to become more racially and ethnically diverse, but some areas will remain homogeneous, which means white, for a very long time. So those were her predictions of the future. So it's a very interesting conference. One other thing I want to say is and you weren't at the last meeting we had with Trish, I was very excited about doing the speech of graduation. And that's why I asked to be able to do it, because I know I'm on my way out. And it isn't an easy thing for me to do. I'm not a good speaker, I know that. And so I spend hours and hours every time I do something, and a lot of rehearsal and so forth. But I felt very good when that speech was done. I got all done, and so you can kind of tell if it's going or if it's not going. But I will say, the response I got walking through the halls going out was better than I've ever gotten before. People I didn't know stopped me. People I did know stopped me. Former students came up to me. And even my physical therapist the next day said, yeah, I was there. But I even got an email from the cities from a friend who heard from their sister what I had done. So I felt very good, and thanks for letting me do that. So, that's all.
Stephanie?
I just want to say, Ken, that you did a great job on your speech at graduation. With everything that you shared with us, I think it's important for us to remember the impact. You know, you grabbing Joe and saying you made an impact. I mean, in a world where we are so divided in so many ways. I mean, it seems as if we're just constantly in this struggle. That I think it's important for all of us to remember that we truly can make an impact, and that it can just be a few words, it can be a few minutes, it can just be a connection. That we just need to continue to embrace that piece of it, because I tell you what, it's rough out there, and it's important to focus on that. So thank you so much for sharing that piece of it.
Sharon?
I want to thank those everyday people who come back to us after retirement and continue to work for us. They know the job and save us considerable dollars. Special thanks to Jeff Anderson in our custodial department and Donnie Beeler in our transportation department. Donnie worked for us more than half a century. He was my bus driver. Good luck to these people. Also, congratulations to Kim Hooterman on her retirement. I know her very efficient, caring manner was a gift to students, staff, and community. I hope that hers and her family wish the very best of everything positive as they start this new chapter. Thank you, Kim. I want to thank Alyssa on her work that makes us a 4-star parent-aware school. This has been something that I've lobbied for, and it has brought extra dollars to our littlest learners so that they are learner ready. Soon we will be talking about school schedules and looking forward to students coming back to our building on a regular basis. School supplies are already out at Target.
My daughter cried when she saw that.
Did she really?
No.
Most of them are excited. But we still have time to do my favorite thing, celebrate summer. Thank you.
All right, and then I just want to make a couple of remarks, just to watch your emails, please, for upcoming work sessions. We have a couple in the works here, so just be mindful. And I understand people's summertime schedules are busy, but we have important work to do as a board as well. And then I just want to make mention of the firm that is resurfacing the tennis courts, because we have had a record heat come through, and they are out there morning, noon, and night. And they are very hard working and living right there. I can hear them working, I can see them working. They're at it for hours and hours and hours on end. And especially when my 5-year-old grandson looks up and says, "Grandma, those guys have been working in the heat all day." So give them a lot of credit. I understand that's their job, but people that work out in the heat, and I just appreciate the work they're doing for us out there. I am going to just pass out one policy here. I have 3 here for the 3 of you. And then Kelly over there for Trish and the others. And I'm just doing this as a board comment. And this is policy 209, which you're all aware that we have. It's our code of ethics as a board. I've followed up with MSBA recently on this one, and again, I'm just doing this as a board member comment. As board chair, I feel like I have an obligation to try to lead the board. I feel like I would be remiss in my duties. We briefly covered this code of ethics in a work session, I believe winter, very early spring. But I think it's time for a review on just a couple of items. We kind of left this on the honor system, but in light of how some events have taken shape lately, I'm just asking for a review again. Everybody's an adult, everybody knows how to read. I'm actually asking for a review after, as a follow-up to an email that we received from another board member after last meeting. Just to call attention under general statement of policy number 6, recognize the integrity of the predecessors and associates and appreciate their work. So my question to MSBA, if they could clarify that. Their clarification said it definitely includes committee work. This does not mean that people cannot ask questions. This particular part of the policy is to state that you appreciate, respect, and trust others' work. And then I asked for a little bit more clarification on number 8 under that same general statement of policy. And they also said should be adding, which includes MSBA trainings, because they do highly recommend that board members take the MSBA trainings. And just because you took it once doesn't mean you can't learn something again. And then under E, in working with the superintendent of schools and staff, in particular number 9, that one is also covered in our board norms. So I'm just drawing this policy to people's attention one more time. I just felt that I would be remiss in not talking about our code of ethics. And that's all I have to offer this evening. So I would take a motion and a second for an adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Ken, seconded by Sharon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our meeting is adjourned at 6:00.